Good afternoon. Welcome to Sunday Afternoon Rotor Talk Live, Season 2, Episode 2, I believe. I'm trying to, or I'm pretty sure about that. But anyway, want to welcome our very special guest from over in the UK, Ian. He's from, let me get it right, ProDrone Academy, and we're going to be talking to him in a minute here. Want to welcome those in the chat, WhizBang99, Scottish Drone View. Let's see who else is here, Builder710. Thank you all for showing up this afternoon. Without any further ado, Ian, welcome to the show today.
No, thanks very much for having me, Bill.
It's a pleasure to have you on, and and I know we've been communicating quite a bit, and just kind of let me set this up here a little bit. A lot of us here are very familiar with how we do things here in the States as far as a Part 107 and getting your commercial license is concerned. And to some degree, a lot of us are familiar with the laws that are going on in Canada, but not a lot of us are familiar with what's going on over in the UK. And I thought this would just be an excellent opportunity to talk to Ian about this. And first of all, Ian, if you could just give us a little bit about your background, how you got into drones, and how you started ProDrone Academy.
Well, I've been into flying RC aircraft for years and years and years, and one day I heard about this thing called permission for aerial work, which was the permission for commercial operations in its original form. So I did the course and got certified, and the rest was history. And I've been teaching for drone schools for a couple of years, and about 6 months ago, I just decided, why not do it for ourselves? So that's exactly what we've done, and things are going very, very well so far.
That's fantastic. And one of the big things here recently, there's been quite a bit of change as far as the rules and regulations here in the United States. And one of them here is for hobbyists now are going to have to take a basic exam. And this is something that is completely new and has caught a lot of people off guard here over in the States. I want to give everybody an idea of what it takes over there to become a commercial pilot over in the United Kingdom. Can you kind of walk us through that process?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, if you're a hobbyist, there are no tests or registration at all. But from November, there is quite a comprehensive registration program coming in, and an online knowledge test to prove that you know the basics regarding operating a drone in UK airspace. But to be a commercial drone operator in the UK, you have to do a course with someone like us, who are Civil Aviation Authority certified NQEs, National Qualified Entities. And it consists of anything from 2 to a 5-day course, depending upon who you go with and what options you choose. But it's in essence, you have a ground school, a theory exam, which is normally 40 multiple choice questions, and that lasts about an hour. You have I think the standard is a 70% pass mark. And then you have a practical flight assessment where you have to actually demonstrate everything you've learned in the form of a live assessment, where the assessor takes on the role of a client, and you have to demonstrate how you would set up a site, run through your pre-flight checks, and demonstrate that you know what you're doing, and that you're safe and competent. So that's the current process. And if you're successful, you're then issued with the certificates that you need to apply to the Civil Aviation Authority for your permission to operate commercially. So it's quite a lengthy process, quite a lot of study.
Yeah, it's completely different here from in the United States, because basically what we do is we'll take a course, say like one of the more popular ones here in the United States is Remote Pilot 101, and it's online, and we'll study for this course, and then we'll go to an approved testing center and take the exam. Now the exam's different if you're coming back, if you've already had your license and you're taking it again. The number of questions goes down, I believe, from like 60 to 40. And they have also, what's real interesting here, there was a lot of questions involving weather that they no longer ask. Those have been eliminated. And one of the things that's very different here is that if you fail the test, there's a waiting period of, I believe, about 30 days before you have to take it again, and you're due to pay the fee again of $150. Now, one of the things that you mentioned that I really liked over there is, that there is a practical exam in terms of actual ability to be able to fly the aircraft, be put in a situation, and be able to demonstrate that you have knowledge of what you're doing. And here in the United States, we don't have that.
No, I mean, to me, that's that's actually vitally important, because you can, proving you understand the theory is one thing, but actually operating an aircraft safely is another. And you can come across people who can pass their theory exam with 90%, but they need a bit more help, shall we say, when it comes to actually operating the aircraft itself. So yeah, it's one of those. Some people are better at exams than others, and some people are better at practicals than others. So, it's basically demonstrating everything. We have a document here that you have to have assessed by the CAA called an operations manual, which is basically contains everything from the list of equipment that you'll put in your van or your car before you go to the job, and all of your emergency procedures as well. That has to be approved by the Civil Aviation Authority as part of the application, and that is what your practical assessment is based on. So you have to prove that you've understood everything you've learned and operate within those parameters that are detailed in your operations manual, and demonstrate to your assessor that you are both safe and competent. And based on that, the NQE can then issue your certificates if you pass. And if you don't pass, they can offer you some further tuition or other options.
In terms of when you're taking your practical exam and having to demonstrate to the assessor, do you use your own drone? Is one provided for you? How does that work?
We prefer the student to use their own aircraft, because if it's a particular platform that they're planning on using within their day-to-day job, if they part of the test, if you come with a drone which is equipped with it, is flying in ATI mode. So if they're intending to use a Phantom 4, they may be faced with a situation where it goes into ATI mode and never flown in ATI mode before. So we prefer to see them with the aircraft that they're going to actually be operating with, rather than one that's easy to fly. So if that makes sense. So generally speaking, they bring their own aircraft.
How, as far as I know it's an in-person school. There's a physical location that you go to take this. Is that correct, Ian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that, I mean, how centrally located are you in terms of people being able to get there? In terms of being able to draw from the population and actually, get people there. Where are you located?
We're located in a city called Ely, which is just outside. It's about 17 miles east of Cambridge,
Okay.
in the UK. But we've got a location in Ely. We've got a location in Yorkshire. We're looking at bringing others online at the moment. But generally, because we've already developed quite a good reputation for the quality of our training, we get people coming from all over the country. So we're fairly fortunate in that respect.
Now, I noticed also you have your own company as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So yeah, Ely Aviation is our commercial drone operation, and you have to run those under two separate banners, because you have potential conflicts of interest. But we do everything from working with large corporates to working with television production companies and filmmakers. So we travel quite extensively. We're quite lucky. I mean, we get to see some very beautiful places. But yeah, I mean, we've got clients both large and small, all over the UK. In fact, I mean, we've actually had clients from the US. So just a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, we're quite lucky. We're very busy.
In terms of a cost, yeah, and I'll just give you an example here. I believe like Remote Pilot, they charge, I think it's about, for the course, it's about $150, and it's, for life. If you're coming back, if you just want to take the recurrent exam and the recurrent course, it's about $65. Can you tell us how much
Sure.
you charge as far in terms of, for the academy?
Sure. Well, our base level course, which is 2 days, and with some pre-course study, is £895, and our sort of higher level course, which is 4 days, and we have a day where we take students out to sites that we've actually flown, and get them to do risk assessments, and we sort of look at the differences between what we found and what they found. So in effect, they've actually done 3 risk assessments by the time they get to their first real job. And we also have a day sort of advanced flight training and setting up the aircraft and looking at its different capabilities in the operational envelope. And that's £13.50. But we're not the cheapest in the industry, and we're not the most expensive. But I think what we've tried to do is there seems to be a sort of expectation in the UK that you're doing the course just to get a piece of paper. That's quite sort of a commonly held belief. We're trying to change that by kind of impressing on people that what we're training you to do is be a commercial drone operator. We're not just sort of ticking boxes so you can get a piece of paper. And I think that's really what makes us different. We're teaching people the business of commercial drone operations, including stuff like sales and marketing. That's an extra module that we offer, rather than just, this is a propeller, this is a drone, this is a camera, off you go. So that's that's really where we differ in our approach.
Now, how long is your course? How many days is this?
The shortest course is 2 days, and the longest course is 4 days. So students can come to us, and they have different options. So they can bolt on the commercial drone training course is the longest course is 4 days, but we also have bolt-ons that are available outside of the commercial drone training in association with the CAA. We've got a course on surveying, mapping, and photogrammetry. We've got a course on cinematography and photography, and we have a course on sales and marketing. And I think the bit people forget is when they qualify, it doesn't matter where they are in the world, the thing they're actually selling is the imaging. They're not actually selling the drone, it's the imaging that comes out of the drone. And it always surprises me the number of people that actually don't know how to use a camera. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges facing the industry is the actual quality of the product that newly qualified pilots are delivering. So we're sort of focusing on that area as well to try and help those guys a little.
That's interesting that you bring that up, Ian, because one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, a lot of people consider, for example, there was some sites where you could go ahead and sign up here in the States to be able to look for jobs in terms of, becoming commercial drone pilots. And it was pretty much, first come, first serve kind of a thing. And there's been a stigma, if you will. And I'll go back to the Mavic Pro. It was, looking at the Mavic Pro versus having a Phantom 4 Pro, people thought you weren't professional unless you had a Phantom 4 Pro. They didn't look at the Mavic Pro as being professional. Now it's kind of getting a little better in terms of, the Mavic 2 Pro and its capabilities. Have you heard anything or have experienced any of that?
Yeah, not really. I mean, the thing is, generally speaking, when we go to see a client, we have, because we normally do 2 or 3 jobs a day, we've probably got a Matrice 600 or something similar in the back of the van. So the client, when we open up the back of the van and they see all the other equipment in there, they're kind of not that bothered when they see the Mavic come out. But I mean, we've got the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom. We've used them both for television jobs, and they're absolutely, our clients are absolutely blown away by the quality of the footage. I think the thing is, if you look at the difference between the developments in technologies between when the Inspire 1 Pro came out and the Phantom 4 Pro and now the Mavic 2 series, the difference is, it's vast between the quality that came out of the Inspire and the quality that now comes out of something smaller like the Mavic. I mean, you can't really compare the two.
No, you can't. It's just that's one of the things. I know a lot of for example, realtors here in the area. When they see you coming with a smaller one versus a larger one, they're kind of like, well, can it do what I need it to do, kind of a thing. And then that's where build up a portfolio before you go out in terms of that. One of the big things here is real estate and using them for real estate here in the United States. And, a lot of guys, and this is something, and I don't know if this is similar over in the UK or not. A lot of people were under the notion, well, I can go ahead, get my Part 107 and just hang my shingle up and people are going to come to me. And really, that's not the case. And one of the things I like what I hear is, you're not only your course not only stresses, the fundamentals behind flying and also photography, but also the business as well. I mean, a lot of people are kind of green as far as that's concerned. Don't you think that's important?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, there seems to be sort of an industry-wide myth throughout the world that if once you have your license to operate wherever you are in the world, that automatically makes you a millionaire the next day, and it's not true. I mean, one of the things we try and tell our students is not the only people that make money work in the mint. You have to earn it. If you want to earn more money, you do more work. If you want to earn less money, you do less work. And part of running a commercial drone operation as a business is that you have a sales and marketing strategy in place, and it's the one thing next to actually delivering the product or the imaging that people don't think about. So we're far more focused on not just the theory aspect they need to learn and practical, the practical aspects of being a drone operator and operating safely, but also the business of being a commercial drone operator and having a sustainable business. Because without those strategies in place, it only leads in one direction, and it's certainly not banking lots of money.
It's so good because I know personally, I've known quite a few who have gone out and who have started and really didn't have a game plan and have just gone on there, and they thought that that either realtors or construction sites or whomever would come knocking on their door, and that just doesn't happen. It's just not the way it happens. I want to kind of
No.
stay on topic here a little bit, but kind of ask you this question. And this is something that I've been talking about lately on the show, has been, do you think that the drone market overall, and I'm not just talking DJI, but overall globally, in terms of reaching a saturation point regarding technology, do you think we're at the point that we're only going to see slight incremental improvements, or do you think there's still a lot more to come?
Who knows? I mean, the development of the UAV market is closely linked to mobile phones, and certainly the mobile phone industry has plateaued, and the number of people buying the new iPhones has gone down. So the thing is, I mean, because we're now at a stage where the Mavic series and the Phantom series are so good, what else can they actually do? Rather than small tweaks here and there to make the platform better. And with the Phantom, my own personal sort of belief is with the Phantom series now allegedly not being produced anymore. And I say allegedly because there is this sort of also communication from DJI that they're out of stock of components. You look at the Enterprise series and you have to think: is this the way that DJI are going with their entire range? Is it going to be different versions of the Mavic aircraft for different jobs? I mean, we have a thermal, we've got the Enterprise for search and rescue, we've got the Mavic 2 Pro, really for sort of high-end photography and videography, and the Zoom for sort of creative cinematography work. So they seem to be sort of covering all bases with that one range, and it's hard to know which way it's going to go. But I don't think we're going to, certainly for the foreseeable future, we're not going to see anyone else giving DJI any competition. Because there's no one out there that's producing aircraft as good as theirs. I mean, there just isn't.
Well, it's real. It's I agree with you 100%. And a lot of this talk lately has surfaced over the past several releases from DJI, going back to November. They released the Osmo Pocket, and then in January they released the smart controller for the Mavic 2. Then they released the Osmo Action Cam, and then now recently the Robomaster, and people are saying, they're shifting things, and I'm hearing all kinds of things like right now, because we have a tariff on Chinese goods here in the United States right now. They're saying it's because of that. They're also saying that they want to explore ground-based vehicles now, and they're gonna be heading in that direction. And there's just a lot of things that are going out there right now as far as people and the theories that they're coming up with. But like you, and I think you'll agree with me here, DJI is going nowhere. They're the 100-pound elephant that's in the room all the time, and they're the ones. We had an old commercial back here, EF Hutton, a brokerage firm. When they speak, people listen, and I think when DJI speaks, people listen as well too.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think DJI have moved from being a company that made toys to a company that now makes professional level aircraft. And it's a natural evolution that they're going to start making other types of camera and other types of imaging equipment. Be that ground based or handheld. I mean, you can see that with the range of handheld gimbals they produce, the Ronin range and other stuff. It's getting more professional as time goes on, and I think if there are developments, it's probably not going to be in the portability area. It's probably going to be in the quality of the imaging and the sensors that are available, rather than anything else. But that's the product we're selling. So for me, that's a big plus.
I wanted to stop here for a second and welcome some people in the chat. David Maws here, Dronemaster is here, Ian Jones, who's from the UK, is here. Marcus, Idaho Quadcopter, Mike Roach, Ron Brown. I want to thank you guys for showing up this afternoon. Ian, another question for you, and this is always something I always ask everybody. What's your drone of choice and why for you personally?
Wow, that's a really difficult question. I think in terms of my personal favorite, it's probably still the Mavic Pro, the original Mavic Pro, because it was such a groundbreaking drone. But in terms of use, probably the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom, just because they're so incredible. We use whichever aircraft is fit for purpose. I mean, we've got a couple of Phantoms, we've got a couple of Mavics, we've got the Matrice and Inspire and a few other aircraft. But it's really for us, it's more about the camera. So we select the aircraft based on that. But to fly, at the moment, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom.
So I have a question for you. How do you manage two separate businesses like this? You put your ProDrone Academy hat on, and then you put your commercial business hat on. How do you do that? I mean, do you have anybody helping you with this?
Yeah, we've got a very good team here. There's my business partner Rachel. There's our training manager Pete, and just a whole raft of other people. Harry, who's our sort of technical manager and director of photography within our drone business. He can make a brick fly. I mean, he's absolutely incredible. But we've just developed this fantastic team of people around us who are capable of incredible things. The gentleman who delivers our training course, Andy Carman, from Arc Aerial Imaging. I mean, his surveying course that he delivers on our behalf within our academy, it's outstanding. So we've just developed this network of people who all work together for the better of the industry. And I think that's really what's so great and so unique about the drone sector. It's not just lots of people throwing potatoes at each other. There are actually people out there who care about the industry and want to see it move forward. And they all sort of band together and push the industry forward, much the same as you guys, Ken Heron, you, and some of the other guys that are really sort of communicating and pushing the boundaries.
Well, I think it's real good, and I talked about this with Romeo too. One of the things that I think that is the people are starting to get the message, and we're getting this out about the whole drones for good, because there's been so much just not good media about drones. And that's one thing that I try to talk about ad nauseum on the channel, is to get the message across about using drones for good. And I know Romeo is very big on that as far as that's concerned. Now, have you had any have you done any work with any first responder organizations over in the UK in training them, or not?
We do work with some of the stuff we do that's more interesting. We're under NDA, so we can't actually talk about. But not with sort of first responders or anything. But I mean, there is, I mean, Drones for Good is a fantastic movement. And you're right. All you ever hear about in the press is all of the negative stuff. And interestingly, there was a recent Freedom of Information request in the UK. And I can't remember what government department it was made to. I was reading it with some interest the other day. I believe it might have been the Air Accident Investigation Board, and there hasn't been to date a single proven air prox involving drones anywhere, despite everything that you see in the news. And I think that's massive. It's just proof that these aircraft are very safe, and I do think that hobbyists need training, and they do need some instruction on how to operate safely. And some of the things, again, you see on some videos on YouTube, they sort of turn your hair white. But put that into context with the vast majority of remote pilots who use their aircraft safely, probably 99.95%, who fly their aircraft safely. And it's a very small number of people who are making life difficult for the rest of us.
I couldn't agree more. We had an incident here recently that was shown where in a Major League Baseball game there was a Phantom 4. People could see it, and they were actually filmed the Phantom 4 out over the outfield, and it was determined it was a 16-year-old who was using it. And obviously, here in the States, if there minors names aren't reported, but they are actually, I guess, actively seeking prosecution not only against the minor but the parents as well too, which I think, and I think that's something that they need to do, and they need to start enforcing this, that you'll see these 1% incidents just completely fall off the map when you do start enforcing the law, already existing laws that are on the books, as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, completely. And at the moment we have the EASA, the European Aviation Safety Agency, have just released the new laws, which are going to be uniform across the rest of Europe. So in theory, a commercial drone operator can, as of June next year, will be able to travel to any other country in Europe, and the rules regarding flight should be the same. It's still sort of a work in progress, but that sort of encompasses registration for parents. If they have children, have to register as a small unmanned aircraft operator, and the child has to take the online test, as does the adult, as a remote pilot, and then the adult is responsible for the child whilst they're operating the aircraft. So I think these changes are happening across the world, because frankly, because they need to. But those of us who operate safely, I don't think we have anything to worry about.
I couldn't agree more with something like that, and I think that's something that's sorely needed. Not only over there and in Europe, but around the world.
Mm.
One of the other things that I wanted to ask you about was where you're at in terms of I know how many academies like yours are there in the United Kingdom. I mean, are you talking hundreds or dozens or
No, 40. They're around 40 NQEs in the UK.
Okay.
And there are two different types of NQE. You have full category, like us, who do the complete course, and then you have restricted, who just do the practical flight assessments. So yeah, there are around 40 of us, and in terms of the number of remote pilots, we're at around the 5,000 mark. So I think the UK is really only just getting started. I think you guys, I think it was Kelly from Ready Set Drone, sort of told me that you guys have sort of 300,000 of it, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a massive difference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really big. And in conjunction with this, how do you get approved to be an academy, to be able to teach these courses over in the UK? Is there a process that you had to go through to do this?
Yeah, it took us around 4 or 5 months, quite a few £1,000s, and a lot of hard work. But you have to write your course. Then the Civil Aviation Authority will come and do a desktop audit. You have to present a module of the course to them. They have to take away all the forms and look through them in great detail. And provided you've met all the criteria and they're happy with what they see, then they reward you the NQE status. But it's a lot of hard work.
Got a question from somebody actually that's in the United Kingdom. Mick Townsend is his name. Bill, could you please ask Ian about our UK registration fee and what your thoughts are on this?
Personally, the drone registration, I think, is not going to stop the people who are operating illegally from doing the things they do. But I think it's a positive step in the right direction. And I've seen on sort of social media lots of uproar about the fee, which is £16.50. And my personal opinion is that you can pay more for a packet of cigarettes these days. And when you compare that to the price of your aircraft, which is potentially £1,500 to £2,000, it's nothing. And really, we're all ambassadors for the industry, and we have to fly within the bounds of the law. So, I hope it's something which has a high level of uptake. That's my personal opinion. I know there are lots of people out there who fly RC aircraft who don't necessarily see it the same way, but I think if we're not all singing from the same hymn sheet, then there's no point in having the system in the first place.
Well, that's interesting. With your background, in RC aircraft, and I dabbled in RC aircraft as well too. And one of the things here in the States is, we have an association here that is, for model aircraft and model aircrafting, and we're at a point right now, for example. And I don't know if you're familiar with this or not. We have the 5 mile radius around an airport rule. Well, if you're in that 5 mile radius, it used to be able to call the tower to get permission to fly if you were a hobbyist. Well, that has changed here in the United States. And right now, what you have to do is you have to find an approved, and the name of the association, I think it's AMA. You have to find an AMA field that's sanctioned within that 5 mile area, if that's where you want to fly, and, that's approved, and you could fly in that field. But everything's going to be changing when our new system gets into place, and as far as APAS is concerned, because DJI has made a commitment in 2020, all their drones are going to have that, so they'll have this ability. And also at that point in time, a lot of our airports are getting the LAANC, and it will make such a difference, because instead of having to call the tower, all you can do is use your app, and I believe AirMap is real good at this, in getting that permission, so it's just not, this is going to apply to a hobbyist, but, for right now, we're kind of in that gray area where hobbyists actually have to apply for a waiver if they really want to fly within that 5 mile radius. And, my whole thing has been get in your car, get outside your 5 mile radius and find a place to fly.
Sure. I mean, we have the British Model Flying Association in the UK, and they have the same thing with their sort of particular flying sites. But in terms of airport restrictions in the UK, you have a 2.5. This is aviation. It's a weird aviation convention, but it's a 2.5 nautical mile aerodrome traffic zone, and then you have runway protection zones, which extend out from the centre of the longest runway for 5 kilometres. So the idea is it provides the airport with a high degree of protection. And whether you're a hobbyist or whether you're a professional operator, you have to get clearance to fly if you want to fly in the ATZ, and that can take up to 28 days in the UK. So if you have it's a non-standard flight application, and you have to submit your case for flying to the relevant air traffic control unit. But there have been some quite high levels of controversy around that, because some air traffic control units are refusing to give permission to unmanned aircraft altogether, and some are actually charging for it. So it's a strange situation, but it's evolving every day. Personally, we've never had issues, but I know there are several people who have.
Well, it's just so, we're at a time right now, and I think what we need to do is we need to, and this is one thing that I stress as well as the drones for good. Well, we need to be patient and see how things are developed, and then we can contact our elected representatives, and at a point and say, well, this is good, this is practical, but I think maybe we can do some tweaking here, and here. What are your thoughts about something like that?
I mean, really, in terms of an industry, I would argue that we've only really been in industry for the last 2 years. We're really Wild West days at the moment. So, there's a lot that's changing. The legislation and the bills that are coming out at the moment are all very new. So, I mean, we really don't know which way it's going to go. There could be more legislation that goes the wrong way before it comes the right way. We just don't know. But we just have to operate within the law and fly as reasonable, responsible pilots, and the rest should take care of itself.
Well, one of the things that I found very interesting, and I find I don't know humorous or not, but I know several private pilots who have told me that our exam here in the United States, the questions on it, they said, Bill, those are the same questions on a private pilot exam.
I've had people with a private pilot license who have come and done our course and said, you know, we've just learned stuff that wasn't even included in our private pilot's license. So, you know, I mean, take what you will from that, but you know, it's strange. I mean, a lot of the courses that are available in the UK were written by people from a manned aviation background, whereas we coming from an RC aircraft and an unmanned aircraft background, we sort of built ours around around the unmanned aircraft themselves, so as a sort of far more focused in that area. But yeah, I mean, we have a lot of private pilots in the UK are exempt from the theory portion of the process of becoming a remote pilot. We insist that they actually come and sit our course, but they're exempt from the exam because they're deemed to have met those standards already with their private pilot's license. But yeah, I mean, you know, a large majority of them will sort of say, "Wow, you know, I never learned half that stuff on my private pilot's license." It's
So how
crazy.
many have you had actually private pilots actually come to get their commercial drone license?
Do you know what? I couldn't give you a real number and be telling the truth. I mean, sort of above 20,
Okay.
I would imagine. So there are, I mean, there are quite a few people we've had lots of ex-military pilots who sort of come and do their qualifications. But you know, those guys, because it's a military qualification, not civil qualification, they're not exempt from the theory test. So yeah, I mean, you do get a few military and private pilots who move into the drone sector.
You know, it's very interesting, you know, in terms of the way things are going, you know, and you know, not only over in the UK and in Europe, but you know, all around the world in the direction things are heading. And you know, one of the things I like what you talked about was, you know, this, you know, being able over to take your registration over from the UK and be able to hopefully, you know, seamlessly go to other countries to be able to do that, you know, and I think that's one thing, you know, I found out, you know, when I had Gail on the show, for example, you know, she went over to Himalayas right after they had the earthquake, and one of the things they said, they were out filming religious sites, the, you know, holy and sacred sites, and you know, the Himalayan government put a stop to that, and there's, you know, no more drone flights because, you know, you're going over areas that you shouldn't touch. You know, but one of the things that I'm really liking what I'm hearing is, you know, there's some more unification in terms of getting rules together. And, you know, it's just not, you know, just not over in the UK, but, you know, in Europe. And that's a good thing. And I think that's a good model here for over in the United States and maybe up in Canada as well.
Yeah, I firmly believe so. And we have got a particular situation here in the UK, and we don't know which way it's going to go at the moment with Brexit. So how that's going to affect things, we don't know. But I dare say that things will become clearer, maybe over the coming few months. Who knows?
Well, you know, it has just been an absolute pleasure having you on, Ian. You know, and I'm going to make sure that I have links in the description, you know, to check out, you know, your training and your training method. You know, it's something, you know, what you offer is absolutely fantastic. And I think one of the things, you know, you've hit, you know, when you do a course like this, you want to cover all bases and you want to do something well. And you know, from everything I'm hearing about what you offer, you know, you're it's just not getting you, you know, checking a box or getting your license in the mail. You know, you're preparing people to actually go out there and truly be commercial drone operators, be able to run a business, and be able to show quality products, quality videos, quality photography, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And you know, my hat's off to you for what you do, Ian. You do a fantastic job.
Well, thanks very much, Bill, and likewise, you too. Love the show, love the channel. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Hang on for a second. I'm going to close things out here. I want to thank everybody that showed up this afternoon. I have had a couple of my subscribers from the UK, Ian Jones and Mick Townsend. Thank you guys for showing up tonight. If you're interested at all, if you're over in the UK, I'm going to make sure a link to Ian's Academy is going to be in the description, so you guys can definitely check them out. Ian sounds like he has a top-notch system in place, and that he's done this from the ground up, and I think that's absolutely fantastic, no pun intended, as far as that's concerned. Again, I want to welcome everybody that was here today. Mick Townsend, Lon Dennard was here, Scottish Drone View, Daddy of 13, Brent Aerials, Arco Drone Solutions. Drone Master was here. Ron Brown was here. Whizbang 99, Borders Drone Seekers. Thank you all so much for showing up today. You know, and again, you know, let's all make sure that we spread this great message of drones for good. And again, remember, it's a great day to fly. Take care, everybody.